The moment my daughter slid the printed demand across my kitchen table, her hands trembling, but her jaw set, I knew our relationship had reached a fragile edge I had never imagined. "Dad," she said, eyes fixed on the paper instead of me, "we need you to pay Oliver's mortgage." The words landed heavily, not because of the money, but because of the certainty in her voice, as if love could be measured in bank transfers. My name is Arthur Bellamy, and for most of my life I believed steady kindness and honest work could weather any storm without raising voices. I'd raised my daughter Penelope on that belief after her mother passed away when she was 10. We lived modestly in a tidy brick house in Surrey, where evenings were for shared meals and weekends were for walks through the park. Penelope grew into a bright, capable woman, the kind who remembered birthdays and volunteered for church fairs. When she married Oliver Hartley, a confident young estate agent with a charming smile, I welcomed him like a son. The trouble didn't begin loudly. It began with small changes. Penelope's visits grew shorter, her laughter thinner. Oliver talked often about investments and building equity, phrases that floated over my head but seemed to carry authority. When they bought a handsome townhouse on the edge of town, I congratulated them and sent a modest gift. I assumed they had planned carefully. I was wrong. They fell behind within a year. Interest rates shifted, commissions dipped, and the mortgage became a looming presence in their home. Penelope called one evening, voice tight. She asked if I could help just for a while. I told her I could contribute a small amount, something that wouldn't jeopardize my retirement. She thanked me, but it didn't end there. A month later, she arrived with Oliver and the printed demand. The figure was bolded and breathtaking. It asked me to cover the mortgage in full for 3 years. "It's an investment in family," Oliver said gently, as if explaining a sensible choice to a child. "You've got savings? We're building our future." I looked at Penelope, hoping she would soften it, laugh, say it was too much. Instead, she met my eyes with a firmness I didn't recognize. "If you love us," she said quietly, "you'll do this." Love, I had learned, does not flourish under ultimatums. I told them no, not angrily, not with judgment. I explained my limits, my fixed income, my fear of losing the security I'd worked decades to build. I offered to help in other ways, budgeting, selling the townhouse for something smaller, even having them move in with me for a time. Oliver's smile thinned. Penelope stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "You're choosing money over us," she said. 2 weeks later, a solicitor's letter arrived. They were suing me for £500,000, claiming I had verbally promised support and caused them financial harm by withdrawing it. I read the letter twice, then sat very still. The house felt suddenly too quiet, as if the walls themselves were listening. Friends urged me to fight hard, to expose the absurdity of it all. My church offered prayers and casseroles. I sought counsel from a calm, thoughtful solicitor named Helen Brooks, who listened without judgment. "This will be painful," she said honestly, "but truth has a way of settling." I nodded, though the ache in my chest made truth feel far away. The weeks leading up to court were heavy with memory. I remembered Penelope's first bike ride, her wedding day, the way she used to leave notes on the fridge that said, "Love you, Dad." I wrote her letters I never sent, reminding myself that compassion doesn't require surrendering one's well-being. In court, the atmosphere was formal and restrained. No shouting, no spectacle. Penelope sat across the room, eyes forward. Oliver spoke expectations and disappointment. When it was my turn, I spoke simply. I described my love for my daughter, my offers of reasonable help, my boundaries. I didn't criticize them. I didn't raise my voice. I just told the truth. Helen presented bank records and messages that showed no promise of full payment. The judge listened carefully, asked measured questions, and recessed. When the ruling came, it was clear and kind. The claim was dismissed. There was no malice found, only a painful misunderstanding fueled by pressure and fear. Relief washed over me, but it wasn't the triumph people imagine. I didn't feel victorious. I felt tired and hopeful. Outside the courthouse, Penelope lingered as Oliver stepped away to take a call. She approached me slowly, like a child unsure if she was still welcome. "I didn't mean for it to go this far," she said, voice cracking. I was scared. We both were. "I know," I replied. "Fear makes us forget who we are." She cried then, quietly, shoulders shaking. I put my arm around her, careful, protective. "I can't buy your future," I said gently, "but I can stand with you while you build it." That afternoon we sat on a bench near the courthouse cafe and talked honestly for the first time in months about expectation, about pride, about the difference between help and dependence. Oliver joined us later, subdued, apologetic. He admitted he'd been chasing an image of success rather than a sustainable life. It wasn't a miracle moment. Trust doesn't snap back into place. But it began to mend. They sold the townhouse and moved into a smaller place closer to their work. Oliver took a salaried role with steadier income. Penelope returned to teaching part-time, rediscovering the joy she once had in it. I helped where I could childcare when their first baby arrived, meals on busy weeks, advice when asked, never with demands, never with guilt. On the day I held my granddaughter for the first time, Penelope squeezed my hand and whispered, "Thank you for saying no." I understood then that boundaries, when set with love, can become bridges rather than walls. Life did not become perfect. It became honest. We learned that generosity grows best in soil enriched by respect. Money can ease burdens, but it cannot replace accountability or heal fear on its own. What heals is patience, listening, and the courage to choose compassion without losing oneself. If there's a lesson in our story, it's this: love is not proven by how much you give away, but by how faithfully you care for others and for yourself. When we honor both, we leave space for hope to take root and for families to find their way back to one another, stronger and kinder than before.